Welcome everybody to another great episode of the Beyond Normal podcast. The guest we're going to be having with us today, I'm excited to have him on. I've been trying to get him on for a while. Yawn, he is the founder of ByteChek, who's doing amazing things in the compliance space. The motto is to make compliance suck less. I'm a sales guy. Compliance has scared me in the past, so I'm excited to have somebody on in the space who's trying to make compliance suck less for us all. So without further ado, I want to bring AJ to the stage. How's it going, AJ?
Going well, Kenny. How are you?
Can't complain. Hope you're having a great day where you're at right now. I want to hop right into things and let folks know a little bit about your story prior to you being a founder. Set the stage for us leading up to you now owning a successful company and brand in ByteChek.
Yeah, and I appreciate you having me on and being able to tell my story. I always enjoyed doing this. I'm glad that our schedules finally worked out after all of the back and forth with my crazy schedule nowadays. But I've been in the cybersecurity industry for a little bit over a decade now. I started my career in the U.S. Army, did 6 years on active duty in the Army as an officer, few deployments, was doing some cyber stuff there in the Army, ended up earning the rank of captain. And then got out of the Army and went and worked at a pretty large consulting firm where I helped grow a team from about 9 of us to well over 130. And we were doing SOC 2 compliance, ISO compliance, HIPAA compliance, the full alphabet soup there of compliance frameworks we were doing. And while there, typical entrepreneur story, I realized that this was a big problem. Compliance sucked for a lot of people for a variety of reasons. And one of them was it just took way too much time, cost way too much money. And I thought we could bring technology to solve the problem. So decided to go out and start building this company in the middle of a global pandemic. And it's been going well so far.
I appreciate that breakdown there. A lot to dig into. So you taking on the challenge of compliance. That's the first thing I want to know from your perspective. What have you seen about compliance that puts the fear in people nowadays?
Yeah, I think people think audit and it's like, oh, somebody's gonna try to catch me doing something wrong. Somebody's gonna try to get me and get me in trouble. I think is the first thing. I think the other reason, especially in the cybersecurity space, is compliance has traditionally been like a check the box exercise. People are auditors at least are typically not that technical. So they're coming in asking really silly manual questions, things that don't make sense from a security or technical perspective. So most of the technical people I know kind of just tune out compliance. They're like, oh, whatever, man. I'm just going to do whatever I can to get rid of this problem instead of actually doing something that's going to focus on security. And I think that has turned people off. They hear compliance. They're like, oh, here comes some auditor who's going to be in a suit and tie and asking me these weird questions, spending hours with me in a conference room and trying to catch me doing something. They feel like it's like an interrogation, and it's not. That's the kind of the rub with it in cybersecurity is it's not like that. It's really just about validating that you're doing the right things that you say that you're doing. And I think that's why people tense up because they hear, audits are scary. People think they're going to get in trouble or think something's going to happen that's going to be wrong. And we're taking a different approach. Even from our slogan of make compliance suck less is to really eliminate a lot of that fear associated with it and make people a little bit more calm and come into it with a real collaborative mindset that, we're just trying to make sure you're doing the right stuff and make it easier for you to prove that.
Thanks for that breakdown there, AJ. Again, my experience, like you said, you just really bottled it up for me. That's really how I feel, like somebody's over my shoulder, right? Yeah. But it makes sense that we're at a point now where technology can really make that easier for folks. And I'm glad to have you taking the helm and figuring out what that looks like for us moving forward. You said something else in your initial intro about building a team out up to 30 plus people. And so it sounded like in your career, things were going great, right? But now you decide during the pandemic that you want to take a gamble on yourself, is what I like to call it, and start your own business. What was your thinking behind now being the right time for you to wear that founder crown that everybody's looking to put on sometime?
Yeah, and I think the first piece of advice I'll give because of what you just said is a lot of people are trying to put that founder hat on. And while it's glamorized, this stuff is really hard, man. And you got to understand going into that. And one of the things that gave me the confidence to do this is I actually knew what I was doing. I had a lot of domain expertise in compliance. I did over 500 SOC 2 examinations while I was there. I did it for some of the largest cloud providers that exist, some startups that you probably have never heard of, and even to some of the biggest startups that exist now. I did their first ever SOC 2. I was their first ever kind of readiness process on a lot of these big companies. So I really understood the problem, and there is no way in hell I'd be able to do this and have the little success that we've had so far without that experience. Definitely 100% encourage anybody putting that founder hat on. Know the problem you're solving. Know it well. Don't just try to start something because it's cool, because you will fail if you don't understand what's going on. The other thing for me, man, like I was like most people, most especially minority, Black kids that are growing. Like I just wanted a really big check. I was growing, and I was at this company. I got out of the Army, and I heard about all the money you can make in tech. And I was like, I'm just trying to make a lot of money. I ended up doing that. I ended up making a good amount of money. I was making $250,000 a year, doing very well. And I realized it didn't actually mean anything. It actually didn't fulfill me. It didn't make me happier. I was buying all the shoes. I was sending family money, doing all the traveling, but it didn't change anything like concrete in my life. Didn't make it any different. And I realized that for me to have a purpose and for me to really feel fulfilled, I needed to do something bigger than myself. It had to be more than just what was in my bank account. It had to be about what impact was I leaving on this world. And that's when I'm at my best. That's when I feel my best, is when I'm doing something beyond myself. It's why I loved the Army, because it was selfless service. It was me sacrificing, some of the other things that I had in my life, especially when you're deployed, for the country, for other people that live here. And I wanted the same feeling. And I didn't have that despite the success I had, despite all of the accolades and the promotions. I did not feel that fulfillment. And I knew I wasn't going back to the Army. So the only way that I was going to get that feeling was starting a company, being able to build something and help grow something from nothing into, a company now of over 20 people here that are, changing their lives as well. And that's what it was about for me. It's Robert Smith, the richest Black man in America. He runs Vista Equity Partners. He's created BET. He has a quote out there that says, every founder should have a second purpose. There should be something else that you're doing this for beyond the capitalistic gain, because there are easier ways to make money. There are a lot easier ways to make money than being a founder. And my second purpose has always been leaving an impact and inspiring the next generation of Black entrepreneurs. I take it very serious that I'm in a position that not a lot of Black men find themselves in, being a VC-backed founder of a startup. And I don't want that to be the case 20 years from now. When my son is, 23, 24 years old, I want there to be Black founders everywhere. And I take it very seriously that that's my role. That's my position in life, is not necessarily to become a millionaire. I'm pretty confident in my personal outcome of how this is going to work. So my goal now is, how do I make 20 millionaires? How do I make 20 more people millionaires and help them change the trajectory of their lives and their families' lives?
Woo! Nuggets. AJ, nuggets. Like you really being transparent. The whole time I've seen your presence on social media, that transparency, like you said, you were pretty good. Like other people, majority of people say, "Oh, I'm making a couple $100,000 a year." Like, why do more, right? But like you said, there's got to be a purpose, right, behind the things you're doing outside of the money. And I think even in our current times, the value of money is really kind of distorted in a way right now, right? It's like they're printing money, the government's printing money willy-nilly. You see people out here kind of getting rich rather quickly. And so our perception of money is shifting. And I can only imagine for the generations that are coming up after us, what their mindset is going to be on money. So it's very interesting and great to see you saying, hey, like, what's my impact after I get mine? Like, who else am I bringing up with me? And that mentality of, let me see if I can make some other millionaires. That's powerful. That's real powerful to have. That's a real powerful mindset to have, AJ.
Yeah, bro. It has to be, I think, it just has to be about more than you. Like, you're not, like, I think we are all put on this earth to help each other. Everything is connected. There's a saying that you can't step in the same pond twice, because as soon as you step into that pond once, you've changed it. You change the water and everything starts to move. You throw a rock in a pond, now it starts moving. I feel like that's in the world. Like, what I'm doing at ByteCheck, I hope, is the spark for so many other things, because one thing that's consistent is we all are going to die at some point. We all are going to leave this earth. And your goal should be, while you're here, is how do I inspire others? How do I leave this world a better place than the way I found it? And as a Black man in America, I know how hard it is to be a Black man. I know how hard it is to just exist. And if I can help others go beyond existing, feel that sense of purpose, and really, you know, one of the things that I enjoy about this journey is I truly wake up every day feeling like I'm living out my purpose, feeling like I'm doing exactly what I was put on this earth to do. And that's just a beautiful feeling that I want more and more people to have. And it keeps me going. You know, this stuff, like I said, is very, very difficult. This is a hard journey, but it gets easier when you really know why you're doing it, why you're doing the grind, why you're working 7 days a week, because of all of the things that I want to accomplish, not just for my kids. I tell people all the time, like, I got a junior. My son is named Alexander Joshua Yawn Jr. I'm building ByteChek and everything that we're doing here for Alexander Joshua Yawn the fourth, his son's son. I'm trying to build for the next future generations, that when I'm long and gone, and it's the same way for the people that I'm hopefully impacting, that it's not just about me while I'm here on this earth. It's about a long-term legacy that hopefully changes things. You know, it's not going to change, maybe not change the world, but we're going to change a few people's lives that then go out and change the world.
Dropping gems, AJ. Keep it going. I appreciate you doing this on our platform. As you were talking there about your junior, I can actually think the very first episode of the Beyond Normal podcast, I had a young lady by the name of Dominique Boone. She's got a laundry service here in the Charlotte area. I'm based in Charlotte, called Leslie's Laundry Care. She named the business after her daughter, right? So she could always have that top of mind. And so as you were explaining that around, like, all right, I got a junior, like, what about the third? What about the fourth? What about the fifth? Right, person that's going to be carrying on that legacy. It took me back to that very first moment for our podcast, right? And that's just like, that's one of those moments. I think people say it's serendipitous, right? Yeah. Like, it's just one of those moments, one of those things that keep top of mind at all time, thinking about that next generation to come after us, because I'm kind of scared for them. Like, to a lot of the things that you're saying, like, I'm worried. I want to make sure that they have more access than us, moving forward. And so I want to build again on something that you said. I'm not sure if the listeners caught it, around being a Black male in this space where you're a founder of a company and you're trying to build out. I know a path that you've looked into is taking on investor capital. I actually want to read a tweet, if it's okay, from you. When you go into AJ's Twitter profile, the first thing that he says is, I raised $3 million from majority Black investors. Key there. That's really key. I'm going to keep going, though. We got us. This is the evolution. We help each other get jobs. We help each other build companies. We support each other. We build each other up, and we write the check. Right. Writing the check is that piece at the end, and then saying how much you actually got from different majority Black investors. Those are really key for me. So I'm curious, like, how do you bring yourself into these discussions when it comes to you going to investors and asking for money? Like, how do you bring in your whole self and have your swag that we all know that we carry as Black people? Like, tell us a little bit about how that interaction is going with you going to investors, and how you make sure, because you're an individual, I know, you make sure that you're being yourself throughout this whole process.
Yeah, for me, it kind of was like a learned thing through the process, because when I first started out, I was just like talking to all the VCs that I could talk to. And then I realized that in a lot of these meetings, I was having to defend who I was. I was having to defend myself, my background, the fact that I'm Black. I had to defend a lot of this, and I wasn't getting to talk about the business. I wasn't getting to talk about the thing that I was building that I thought was a really cool platform, and we're solving a really important problem. And then when I started to interact with more Black investors, I realized they don't care that I'm Black. They actually understand and appreciate that I'm Black because they know what I went through. And that just made the conversations go so much better. And there's a VC that I follow and have done some cool stuff with. Her name's Arlen Hamilton. She's the founder of Backstage Capital, and then also now the founder of a software company called Hire Runner. And she always talks about being your true self, because the people who are supposed to find you will find you when you're being yourself. And I made a decision that, you know what, if we don't end up closing this round of funding, it's fine, but I'm going to go out on being me. I'm going to go out with the fact that I was my authentic self, because at the seed stage, at the stage of the company that we were at when we raised that round, it's not a lot about your metrics. It's not about how much revenue you have, customers, or the product. It's really, investors are betting on the founder. They're betting that the founder is the one to figure this thing out and can build a big company. And I wasn't going to pretend that I was anybody but myself in these meetings, because I know they were betting on me. They're giving a lot of money to me to go out and build this company. So I want to make sure they know exactly what they were buying into, exactly who they were buying into. And, that's me being transparent about the struggles of being a Black man in tech, the benefits of being a Black man in tech. I think a lot of people always talk about struggles, but there's actually a lot of benefits of being Black in tech that we should talk about. And then also, like, the transparency I've talked about with mental health and highlighting the fact that this journey is really hard. And I found that the more investors I talked to and the more authentic I was, the more they appreciated it. Because at the end of the day, these are people. Yes, they have millions of dollars that they're invested in companies, but they're humans. And humans connect with humans, not robots. And I know I wasn't going to pretend that I was anybody but myself, because I don't know how to be anybody but me. And I love being me. So I'm going to continue to do it regardless of what I was doing. And the other kind of aspect, similar theme of ByteChek is, I knew there was a second purpose of raising from Black investors that invest in Black people, is that if ByteChek does what I think it does, which is become $1 billion company, all of these investors, they made a ton of money off of their investment. And guess what they're going to go do with that money? They're going to go reinvest it in more Black founders. So we are continuing this ecosystem to show people, to going back to that tweet, we got us. Like, if you're a Black founder out there, you can raise significant rounds from Black investors that are leading big VC firms or Black angels as well, that you don't have to go out and try to find a seat at a table that wasn't built for you. Like, no, we have enough people that have already built our own table in this space, in the startup and VC space, and you can just come over there and don't have to deal with the BS that goes into raising capital as a Black founder. And that's one of the things that motivates me a lot with the company as well, is I want to make sure I give all of these investors that are the Black-led investors, even, the people that are not Black that invested in a Black man, I want them to make a lot of money out of this so that they can go deploy more capital into more Black founders, more underrepresented founders, because that's what we need. Like, it's not a lot of Black founders got a lot of mentorship. They get a lot of guidance. They get a lot of advisory, but no one's writing checks to them. So we got to get people to actually write checks and get them more money so they can write more checks for future founders as well.
I got chills. AJ. I don't know if you're trying to pitch me there, but I feel like I need to just like how much do I need to give you, like, right now? And like, I just like these moments. Like, again, I started this Beyond Normal podcast. Really, like, I looked at it as like, all right, this is a soapbox, right? We want to be able to stand on these boxes and tell our stories, and really that ask of people. You're being very deliberate of what your ask is of people, in terms of like being passionate about it. Like there's skin in the game. There's always going to be money involved, but then that other piece that you just spoke to now, there's no reason. I see why you got $3 million, right? Invested mostly by Black investors into your business, and so that's awesome to hear. And again, appreciate you for dropping those gems. Another gem moment of the many that you've already dropped. So as you're building out your team now, you touched on passion a lot, a few times. And so I'm curious, like, what are you looking for in the people that you're hiring now at ByteCheck? As they look to join your team. I know your team is growing for sure.
Yeah, for me, it's a big piece, a humongous piece of it is are you not a culture fit? Because we don't do culture fits. I think culture fit, when people say, are you a culture fit? I feel like that's like asking, like, if you want to be in a frat. And it's like, do you fit who we are? Do you look like the way we are? And it's like, nah, that's not what we're talking about. It's a culture add. Like, are you going to come in here and are you going to add to the culture we're building, which is a culture where people truly enjoy coming to work, a culture where people can be their authentic selves. And yes, we work hard. Yes, we are doing some really important stuff. But one of our core values is we don't take ourselves too seriously. And that starts with me at the top, where, like, I know what I'm doing is really important. This is a software company that's building something special, but we're not getting shot at. We sleep at home every night. We all, everyone at the company is making decent money from a perspective of like what others out there may be making. So we don't have to act like this is life or death. And I don't think work should be treated as life or death. So a lot of what I look for, aside from the skills for whatever position we're hiring, is, are you someone that a part of our team that's going to be a good member of the team? Are you going to be someone that I want to be in the trenches with? Because this stuff is hard. It's a lot of work. We're solving some really important problems. It's software companies, so things break all the time. We're early stage, so stuff is chaotic, man. Like I hire people all the time, and I tell them like, hey, on day one, I'm probably gonna ask you to do something, and then by day three, I'm gonna say do something else. And you got to be able to handle that and be able to adjust and move. And like I look for those type of skills, of that flexibility, and being able to handle the ups and downs of a startup and do it with a perspective, with a good perspective in your mindset. And that's a big thing we look for, is just that culture piece, because at the end of the day, I think you can teach people anything, especially people in this field. Like in the tech field, people learn stuff all the time. And in cybersecurity, particularly, you have to consistently learn things. Like you have to consistently be up to date on all the things. So like, I don't really care how much you know coming into this thing, unless you're like, seeing your role. It's more about like, do you have the tenacity to handle the ups and downs? Do you have the skill sets to go out and learn new information and come back? And then can you execute? Every person we hire, I have to trust on day one. Because I can't do everything at this point. I cannot continue to do anything. So if I'm hiring someone, another one of our core values is to be courageous. And I tell people, hey, take chances. If don't wait for me to respond on Slack to a message, because chances are I'm doing 10 other things. I'm not going to be able to respond for a while. Just go do it. And if you mess up, we'll live with the results, and we'll fix it and come back a little bit later and you try again. So we hire people that are not scared to take those chances, that are willing to execute and have some showed experience, not just in cybersecurity, just in their life, of executing and being able to get stuff done. And that's a big thing for me as well. And it's really cool to hire people. It's been a fun part of the job right now, of being able to pull people into this community, bring them, kind of behind the fold, and watch them grow and watch them kind of change their lives and succeed. And it's great, because I feel like I'm building the company I always wanted to work at. I'm building the company where I truly enjoy what I do. And I think the people that are here truly enjoy what they do as well, which is just like it's humbling and a great experience.
I appreciate that. It is actually kind of funny to me that startups have like job wrecks and things like that, because like you said, like usually like day one, your CEO or some executive is going to give you something, and you're going to be like, this is not what I signed up for, but you signed up to be a part of a startup. So that's what you signed up for.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So, yeah, just very interesting to see companies, specifically startups, that actually focus on job wrecks a lot of time. I appreciate you just being honest and saying, look, you just want an individual who's going to come in and have that will to figure it out. And in the sales world, we always call that skill versus will.
Yeah.
It's good to have the skill, right? But if you have the will, where there's a will, there's a way. So I'm curious, like you said, your company is at a scale now, you can't do everything, right? And so I always ask founders, it's like, what's that one area of the business where you feel like you have to spend a little bit more time, that's maybe more of an opportunity area that is not quote unquote your strength? Like, can you give us like one of those areas in the business where you got to focus a little bit more, because it may not be something you have the experience doing, or it just may not be something you've done in the past?
Yeah, I think it evolves as the company evolves, what those focus areas are. And the way that I kind of thought about it from the beginning is like, I'm not good at any of this stuff. I don't know how to do any of the things that I'm doing, but I'm gonna try, and I'm gonna go for it, and I'm gonna see what happens, and I'm gonna put the effort in to learn. So in the early days, it was figuring out, how do we get the word out about ByteCheck without having a huge marketing budget, without being able to spend a ton of money. And it was content marketing. I went out and got a content marketing cert from HubSpot. And that's something I do. If I don't know something, I don't spend hours trying to read every article on it and like putting the picture together. I just go take a course. So let me just go take a course and just do whatever that course says, because chances are they know a lot more than what I'll come up with in these hours of research. And then now, I think right now, where I'm spending a ton of time is just on sales. And I feel like every early stage founder should, it should be founder led sales in the early days. You should be doing a lot of sales. You should be talking to customers, getting feedback, understanding what those pain points are so you can really speak to the problem and build a good product. So I spent a ton of time on sales. And I think it's one of those things where like I never was an actual sales professional, but I think I'm pretty good at it. I think sales and really everything comes down to storytelling, and are you able to tell the story to convince people that you're the right one for them to do business with. There are aspects of this journey that I do not like at all. That I don't like doing. Accounting is terrible. The legal side is also very bad and takes up a lot of my time and makes my head hurt. But it's one of those things that you just like, you got to do. There's every job you're gonna have things that you don't like doing, but you got to do it. And those are two things that kind of become time sucks at time, where I'm spending I've spent a ton of time doing accounting stuff or legal stuff. And that's not what I started a cybersecurity business for, to do legal and finance stuff, but it comes with the gig. And I will say that I've learned so much over these last 2 years. There's really no school that could have taught me what I've learned from a business perspective than what I've learned over these last few years. And that includes the accounting and legal stuff that I don't like. But now I have all of these skills that who knows if I would have ever got them, if I would have ever seen these things, if I would have been looking detailed at balance sheets and trying to figure stuff out. I take everything with a grateful attitude of, I am extremely grateful that I get the opportunity to do some legal stuff, that I got to sit through and read through these documents that we had to put together for our investors, because 5 years ago, there's no way in hell you'd tell me that I was going to be on this journey. And I believe you. I would have been like, you're crazy. Like there's no chance. So even the stuff I don't like, I take it with some gratitude, and I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm naturally pretty confident. I don't think there's anything that I do at ByteChek that I actually know what I'm doing, but I also think I'm good at it all. I also think I can figure it all out, and I have the skills to figure it out. And now I've built a team of people that are way smarter than me, that actually know what they're doing, and they're able to take it to another level. But I'm pretty confident in myself that I can figure stuff out. That's what this entrepreneurship journey has taught me, is like literally anything is possible, because this was not in the cards for me to do at all.
Yeah, that's dope there, that you're willing to wear the hats. Again, that goes back to the will that you were saying before in terms of the people you're looking to add onto your team. You got to have the will to figure it out. Like it could be Googling, it could be taking a course, like whatever you need to do to figure it out. Like just get it done. Like, and then you're the founder, you're the CEO. Like, who's gonna listen to you complain?
Right.
Like, there's nobody else you can turn to and be like, hey, can you help me with this? Like, you can't look up. Like, you're not looking up. And so, yeah, that's another perk of being the founder. You're at the top in a lot of cases, right?
It's a perk, but that's one of the things that I think a lot of people that are going on this journey don't realize is how lonely it is. You always hear like it's lonely at the top, and I don't think it's like from a perspective of like, I'm this oracle, so nobody can sit on the chairs that I sit on. It's just to your point, like when you're going through something and you're like, this sucks. Like you look to your left and your right, and you're like, I guess I got to do it. I got no one to complain about. And one of the things that happens as you grow your team is your team brings you all the problems they can't solve. So you're getting the worst of the worst problems all day. Everybody's bringing you these bad problems. And that can start to weigh on you if you don't realize it. Like, oh, like I'm the one that solves the problems for them. I help them solve these problems. So if they're bringing me something, it's because they can't fix it. There's something going on, and it does weigh on you because you are kind of up there alone, just trying to go through the trenches. But that's why I do a lot of stuff to focus on my mental health and make sure that I'm taking care of myself, because it is a lonely journey. You look to your left and your right, and it's like, I can't really say, man, this sucks, I don't want to do it, because no one's going to make me do it, but I know I have to do it.
Black male health is such a big thing right now. So like, can you share with us a little bit, like how you go about making sure that your mental is where you need it to be? Because you have a family as well, and then you have a business as well that you're growing. Like, talk a little bit about some of those things that you do, because now's a really important time to focus on Black male health.
Yeah, there's never been a better time. I think there's a lot of people that talk about mental health and mindfulness, and I think it's so dope because we need more men, especially Black men, talking about this stuff because it's life is hard, man. You know, it's just difficult. There's a lot going on. Being a father, just being a human, trying to get through the day, and on top of being in a global pandemic, World War III is on the horizon. The economy's trash. Like, there's so much going on that you have to do things. And for me, the reason why I'm so outspoken about mental health is because it took me becoming a founder to focus on my mental health. And I don't think anybody should have to start a company to focus on their mental health. And it started with me with meditation. It started with just taking some time in the morning before I started my day to sit there, listen to a guided meditation, and be present in the moment. And from there, it's turned into just this full lifestyle of mindfulness at all times. And it really just comes down to I can only live in the present. The past does not exist, or the past is history. It's already happened. I can't go back and change it. And the future does not exist. The only thing that I actually can do is be here right now in this interview with you. Whatever I'm going to do after this, I can't do that yet. I got to be right here. It's 2:20 here in Miami. That's all I can do is be here in this interview. And mindfulness and meditation started there. Some of the other things that I do, so I have a really strict morning routine that I follow to make sure that I start my day right. I think starting your day in a mindful manner, starting your day off focused on yourself is so critical before you get into the rat race of the day. So I wake up, I try to sweat immediately. I try to get a workout in, do whatever it can to just break a sweat, because when you wake up, cortisol, the fear hormone or the stress hormone in your body is at its highest. It kind of replenishes overnight. And when you wake up and you do a workout and you start to sweat, you release cortisol. So you start to deplete that fear and that stress hormone, which allows you to go about your day a little bit better. That's why people feel better when they work out. You got rid of some fear and some stress when you did it. The next thing that I do is meditate. I spend a good amount of time doing some guided meditations, or sometimes just like music and just listening to that and sitting there and breathing and doing some breathing meditations as well. And the thing that I've learned about meditation that I want, if anybody's listening to this, they're like, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. This dude sounds like he has his life together, so I'm going to try meditation out. Is don't ever think about I had a good meditation or a bad meditation. Like if you're sitting there trying to meditate and you're thinking about squirrels or you're thinking about your kids, don't worry. Like just keep going. Keep breathing, try to bring yourself back to the moment, but don't beat yourself up. The whole concept is you took time for yourself. If you took that 5 minutes to sit there, listen to a guided meditation, that is 5 minutes you spent on you. And that's the whole point. It's not good or bad. There's no such thing as a good or bad meditation. You just meditated. And the mindset of being present, the mindset of saying, okay, I thought about that, but I'm back here, back focused on my breathing, that translates to the rest of my day. There's all times throughout the day where I'm really mindful and trying to stay present. And it's because I have that built-in meditation practice in my brain. And there's a ton of scientific benefits of meditation, of just taking a break. If anyone's not sold yet, here's one that I don't know if people know, but like there's been studies about people that are like super meditators that have done like over 10,000 hours of meditating. They actually are smarter. Their brain actually works better than people that don't meditate by being more mindful and being more present. And then the last thing I do is I read. I read something, I read a lot of Stoic philosophy. Stoicism has been really key to my mental health, which Stoicism is all about you just don't care about the things you don't control. If you can't control it, throw it out. If and that's everything throughout your day. Just do not care about anything that you don't control. And when you shift that mindset, when you decide and you put every problem through the lens of, can I control this? And it's either yes or no. Most of the time it's no. Move on. Because there's literally nothing you can do other than just continuing to do the other stuff that you can actually control, which is generally your attitude, how you feel, the way that you treat other people. Those are all things that you can control. And the other thing I would say that I do that is very critical to my mental health is I take digital detoxes. I go through hours throughout my day where I don't touch my phone. I before I go to sleep, I don't touch my phone. I don't do anything on the digital. I try to break and take that space. And then when I wake up through that morning routine, I'm not looking at email, text, or anything. I tell my family, like, if something happens in the middle of the night, you're not going to hear from me till I get through that routine. I'm not an Avenger. I'm not Captain America. I'm not coming to save nobody. I got to protect myself before anybody else. And I really am strict about that. I do not look at my phone before I start my day or before I go to sleep, because you need to be with yourself. The phone kind of kicks things off, and there's a lot of science about the blue light and things like that, that I think when you start to detach yourself from your phone and live more in the real world, it makes you more present, makes you more happy, and takes you away from always looking out at everybody else kind of living life. You're like that SpongeBob meme where Squidward is looking out and he sees Patrick and SpongeBob outside running. That's how most people are on social media. And you got to really step out and just go outside. Like go do something, spend time with your family. And that's what helps me a lot, man. It's just doing those things. And I know I said lastly before, but one more point, because I, as you can tell, I'm really passionate about this stuff. And I think it's important that we talk about it, is I don't hide when I'm not okay. If I'm depressed, if I'm anxious, if I'm sad, if I cry, I let people know, because I am a human. And men, you are human. You are allowed to have emotions. You are allowed to not feel good. You are allowed to be depressed, and it's okay. It is okay to not be okay. And I want more people to know that. I want Black men to know that I understand. Like, it is okay that you're not okay, and take that time for yourself. Go to therapy. I go to therapy regularly. Do all the things to invest in your health, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with having challenges, because life is hard. It's very, very hard. And by acknowledging that, you don't try to hide this stuff no more. You don't try to push it to the side. You actually address those feelings, and you feel so much better when you do.
Woo. Oh, that was good, AJ. I'm sitting over here taking notes. The screen time for me, like that's the big one. Like, just kind of trying to disconnect. And it's not like I always go to it, but when I go to it, I'm just in it. Yep. Like you said, you can't be present. The idea of multitasking and things like that nowadays, you got to multitask to get stuff done. It's just, the science has proved like it's not a productive way of living, right? Yep. Juggling 3, 4, 5 things at a time. And you touched on quite a bit there. But that's a lot for our viewers, our listeners. Some of them are founders. Some people are on the fence about things. Like, that's a lot to think about. But just taking one of those little tips right there will improve your balance.
Yep.
And it's good to see you're doing meditation. I think I got to follow up with you to see how I can get started with that.
Yeah, I'll send you some links of the way that I started meditation, some of the guided meditations that I've used to kick off my journey, and you can drop them in the show notes and whatnot for people that want to get started. I think there's a lot of stigma around meditation. They think like you're sitting there and you're humming and like floating crisscross applesauce, and it's not that. Like, it's truly just like being present, breathing. I kind of take it to, if you laid down outside and you were looking at the clouds, and you see the clouds moving left to right and they're just going by, you're not going to sit there and try to say, cloud, stop, and like try to reach up and grab the cloud and stop it. When you're meditating, those are your thoughts. The clouds are your thoughts, all the stuff you're thinking about. So all you do is you just keep breathing and say, I don't care that I just thought about my daughter, or I just thought about what I got to do later for work. You just keep breathing and focusing and staying in the moment, and you stop judging yourself. You stop judging yourself for those thoughts. And that right there has been one of the keys to my success, is I've transitioned from being my biggest critic to my biggest fan. And I don't judge myself for how I feel. I don't judge myself for if I feel like if I tried to accomplish something and it didn't work. Like, I am my biggest cheerleader. And it's because of meditation. It's because I've stopped judging myself during those 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is that I'm doing while I'm meditating. And that, again, like, those skills, man, they just go into the rest of your life, and you don't even realize it. I didn't even realize it till recently. I'm like, man, like, that was a mindfulness moment. That was me doing something mindful that wasn't even anything to do with meditation. So I'll share some resources. I think meditation is a game changer. It really has shifted the way that I think. I can't go a day without meditating. I have to. It's like brushing my teeth. Like, I have to meditate, or I will literally feel bad. Like, I will feel sick and nauseous and not feel good.
Wow. That's interesting. You got me over here thinking, AJ. So I can't wait to get those resources from you. I'm definitely going to put them in the show notes. The folks listening in, this is exactly why I follow AJ on social media. He drops gems all the time, and he just spent 30 minutes with us dropping gems, a little over 30 minutes. So in closing, tell folks a little bit about how they can stay connected with ByteChek, the social media channels they can check in with to see what the brand is doing, and stay up to date.
Yeah, definitely. I would say find us on Twitter at ByteChek. Find us on LinkedIn, ByteCheck there as well. We actually just hired this really dope guy. His name's Jamar Gale. I'm out to make sure that he sees this, that I shouted him out. He's been grinding, man, to break in and do his thing. He's built a really cool community, and now he's running all of our socials. And just this week, I was giving him a shout out. He's like 2 weeks in, I think, maybe a week and a half. I don't know how long. He's just started, and he's already exponentially grown all of our social medias. And that's a lesson to any founders out there. Give people a chance. And you're going to find out that the results are crazy. So yeah, Twitter, LinkedIn, we have a lot of fun with our marketing. You'll see that we're educating, but we're also entertaining, and making sure that people are, our tagline is kind of funny, make compliance suck less, but everything is like that. Like, we are just really an open, fun brand. And I think people will find following us in entertaining accounts.
Appreciate that, AJ. What's that last thing, as we close out, you want the listeners to keep top of mind? I definitely want to hear this from you, because you're all about being present in the moment. But what's that last nugget you want to leave us with before we close out?
Yeah, 100%. It's protect your mental health. No matter what you do in life, whether you're a founder, whether you're trying to do something cool in your career, you have to protect you. There's nothing more important than what's up here between your eyes, and focus on yourself and build yourself up, and trust the work that you put in on you, that it's going to impact others. And then with that, focus. I think a lot of people try to do too much. To your point, Kenny, you were talking about multitasking. It's a myth. It doesn't exist. And I tell anybody that's trying to do something very difficult, give yourself 90 days. And there's a method I use to accomplish anything really hard. It's called the 90-91 method. And what it is for 90 days, for the first 90 minutes of your day, focus on one thing. Don't go on Slack. Don't go on Twitter. Don't check your email. Don't have any other windows up. Whatever that thing is that you're trying to do, studying for a cert, building a product, learning a new programming language, whatever it may be, focus on that for 90 days, the first 90 minutes of your day, that one thing. And I promise you, at the end of those 90 days, you are going to it's going to blow your mind how much you've learned or how much you've accomplished by just locking in. Focus is a superpower. And I encourage anybody that's trying to do anything difficult, lock in, try that 90-91 method. And at all times, protect your mentals. There's nothing more important than protecting your mental health.
That's a mic drop moment. There isn't much else I can say besides thank you, AJ, for coming on the platform, sharing your story. I'm definitely going to be checking out for what ByteCheck has coming along. Again, making compliance suck less. In my career, this is a company I wish I had at the very beginning of my career in sales. But AJ's got it going now, and the company the sky's the limit for the company. Thanks again for all the listeners tuning in for another great episode of the Beyond Normal podcast.